name is Gregory Allen. This gentleman to my right is Steven Spielberg, as you all know.
My name is Andrew Wormsley, and yeah.
We're here to review the new Man of Steel movie.
I'm a very big Superman fan. I've collected the comic books from childhood. I have many figures today that I hold in high regard. So I went into it with, and then you have the Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner movies of the late 70s, early 80s that I grew up with, you know. So that is my perspective of Superman. So going into Man of Steel, hearing about it maybe, 2 years ago, I was very excited for it. I was looking forward to it. I don't think that the 2006 version measured up to what a lot of people, that was the Bryan Singer version, measured up to what a lot of people were expecting from a new Superman era. So for me going into it, I already had a lot of excitement. I think the film overall delivered. I think it did what it needed to do. When you're looking at a Superman film, you want action. You want some history of the character. I thought the Krypton setup was very well, looking at a little bit deeper in terms of why Superman is who he is, why Kal-El is special. So I thought the whole Krypton setup was good. That was really, for me, probably one of the better parts of the film.
What I liked about this film is the Krypton element, like commanding the birds and the technology and all that. I think that was very, very interesting. The fight scenes and the special effects were done very well.
I think it had a lot of action, which is what you want in a Superman film. I recently found this out. There wasn't one punch thrown in the 2006 version. There wasn't any sort of fighting or action in that sense. And so I think they were like, well, let's bring some of that into this one.
It didn't have, for me, the emotional resonance that the Christopher Reeve version had when Lois is there and she's dead and he time travels to bring her back.
Right. I have a slight issue with the whole Lois Lane. I feel like we didn't know her well enough. I feel like we find out, okay, she's a reporter, we get that, everybody knows who Lois Lane is, whether you're a Superman fan or not. But I felt as though we didn't get enough of really her drive, her purpose. Okay, she's a reporter and she finds out about this guy. That's great, but really, who is she? Why does she so easily fall in love with this guy? Mm-hmm. And I felt like that could have been drawn out a little bit more.
So my thing is, Superman is always going to be making his own villains because he's always going to, with his powers, be not saving others.
And then the fact that all the Kryptonians had a purpose. They were born with a purpose. They were genetically born. And so, when Zod's like, my purpose is to protect the people of Krypton, you understand why he has such an issue with all the Kryptonian descendants being no more, because what is his purpose at that point? Which I think is a flaw in that, you're born with one specific purpose.
But we and you have constantly had this conversation. I think Superman is a great idea for a hero, but there's a fundamental challenge with the Superman mythos. And that's the idea that when you have a person who has all this power and all these abilities, and he's around people that don't seemingly have those powers, that don't seemingly have those abilities, there becomes a opportunity for tyranny. Now, with Superman, it's always framed that he's always saving everybody, and he's doing this and he's doing that. But the challenge is he cannot save everybody. So if he cannot save everybody, there's going to always be people that feel like, well, why are you saving them? And it can create this sense of alienation. But Superman has an extremely popular cult that goes with him.
Absolutely.
And so I don't think the flaw is with Superman. I think the flaw is with the storytellers of Superman, because Superman ultimately, Superman is still working from the premise that there's only one Superman in the whole universe. You know, we already are establishing that there's aliens, so there's got to, so there's got to be other aliens from somewhere. So Superman, he can't be alone. You know, he has to have other people, and this is when you get into the Justice League. You know, because he can't bear that responsibility by himself.
I don't know if you noticed, but the satellite, when him and Zod are fighting at the end and they go up into outer space, the satellite is a Wayne Enterprises satellite. So
oh yeah, and I saw that the Luthor Corps
and
truck.
you saw the Luthor Corps truck. So they're definitely where in the Dark Knight trilogies, Christopher Nolan has said over and over again that no other superheroes exist in this universe, but in this one, and that's what I think they're setting up for. A lot of the Avengers Phase 1, I think they set it up very well for a sequel. I think that they ended it well in terms of him. You know, I'm gonna now be an intern at the Daily Planet. I appreciated that. He has his glasses, so the fans are happy about that. Lois Lane knows who he is. I think that might be a better situation because she's been historically, you know, just taken out because of, well, okay, you know the Superman guy, you're in love with him, and then he's right there working beside you every day, and you don't know who he is. I think they said that's not realistic. I think the filmmakers, David S. Goyer, Christopher Nolan came up with the story, and I think they were like, well, that really doesn't work in our universe. And I, completely agree with the Superman flaw, because you wonder in both the Richard Donner film, Christopher Reeve, and in this one, Jor-El has this idea that he's sending his son to Earth, not so he can be great necessarily. They can be a great people, Kal-El, if they wish to be. They need a light to show the way. And Russell Crowe's version, he seconds that.
Really, when you're talking about son and oneness, Jor-El understood that there's no death. He understood that in the DNA of his son, he is in there. So there comes a time when his son is in his weakest point. Then the father, it's in this case Jor-El or Jor-El, will show up to take care of business.
So Jor-El goes through this this understanding of the importance of his son. But I love the fact that he said, I'm his consciousness. He said, he used that word specifically when he showed up in Man of Steel, when he showed up in the ship. He's like, I'm your father, but I'm basically his consciousness.
Right.
And he's vibing with that. So Kal-El is vibing with that consciousness and speaking to him, which means from some perspective it is in him, it is a part of him.
Right.
And so I really appreciated, I thought Russell Crowe did an excellent job. I really appreciated the way he delivered that performance and the whole idea of consciousness. And the Kryptonian obviously had a higher technology, but it was almost like they had more knowledge. It was the knowledge of the whole multiverse and why that was so important for his journey.
Right, and so to conclude it, to demonstrate that, to quote from Marlon Brando or Jor-El or Jor-El, this is no fantasy. So we have the consciousness of Steven Spielberg here, and he's saying something. But that's for you to decide.